All right, and we are live. Aaron the dog is back with Dana White Contender Series breakdowns after a year or so away from it. I was actually not to pat myself on the back. I believe with Lucky back in the day on the first season of the Contender Series, we broke down these cards before anybody was breaking them down. But you are here to check out one of the many Contender Series breakdowns now because the cappers are out breaking down the Contender Series. I'm just one of the cappers, I guess. With me, the best regional MMA breakdown guy I know, and anybody who watches them would probably agree with that as well. Lucky you won't agree with that, but Lucky Locks, you all know him from the UFC breakdown show, but we're here for a quasi. I call these like the what LFAs used to be, but now it's the Contender Series. Lucky, how you doing?
Yeah, I mean, very high praise. Like you said, I'm not going to agree with that, but I'm always appreciative of the kind words. Of course, yeah. I mean, we got the first week coming up here. I'm looking forward to this season. I think the first fight on the card is a great way to kick off this new season. Two really good fighters to kick it off. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up. Let's get into her.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I'm just missing the Contender Series or what it is, but this probably, I think, will end up being one of the more exciting weeks just based on the matchups. We'll see if the matchups come through. But on paper, I think all these fights should be pretty entertaining, and definitely got some thoughts. Starting with the 125 fight, this could definitely, at this point, be in the UFC flyweight division, but that doesn't say much. Either way, I think this is the best fight on the card. It probably should be the closer, but they're opening up the season with Antoan Ho, the highlight against Lunaire Kavanaugh, the Chinese fighter fighting out of England now. This is a great fight. I don't have much negative to say about either one of these guys. I do think that of the two of these guys, Kavanaugh, I think fights like the more experienced fighter of the two. MMA Lab versus Great Britain top team, but Kavanaugh has that kind of more traditional, like point fighting, motion, movement style to his striking. He's got some power to his game, but again, at flyweight, that's never going to be, I think, the top, threat for these fighters. He definitely has good cardio. He's well balanced as it is. His defense does get lax at times. It has shown up in a few fights, but he's got away with it. Andrew Sanchez, particularly a fight where I think he got dropped a few times in that fight, sometimes doesn't manage the distance as well as it seems like he should. But, I mean, he's a very, very good fighter. There's no real getting around it here. Antoan Ho, he was very, very exciting right off the bat with LFA. He had a really slick head kick knockout. The knee bar was absolutely legit. He got on that fighter as well. It was not, some of these leg locks at lower levels, I feel, are a little bit lucked into. I definitely think he has some kind of underrated grappling skills himself here. And I think that could be a route he ends up actually going in this fight to kind of, reduce the frustration on the feet that he could have. I definitely understand why Kavanaugh's favored. I got Ho back at plus 180. And I do feel that this fight is much, much closer. I think Ho's getting a little punished for his last performance where he did not look all that, aggressive. But again, Sanson, I think, is a very good fighter who would probably be in this situation if he would have beat Ho. So really good fight. I'm going with the plus 180 dog. I got him a couple of days ago. You can still see him at plus 160, I believe. I'm finding him at plus 150 on DraftKings. Lucky, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, great fight. It's the best fight on the card. It kind of sucks that they have to fight each other, but it is going to be a real treat to get to kick the season off with this one. I really don't think this one's going to disappoint. Hopefully, that projection doesn't come back to bite us on Tuesday night, but I don't think it will. Antoan Ho he's really good. He's very dynamic. I don't think he projects quite as high as Kavanaugh does as a prospect. I'm quite high on Kavanaugh. His last opponent, Sean Marcos da Silva, is a very good fighter. I think he would give Ho a tough fight as well. Kavanaugh, I think he's the better striker. He's got excellent takedown defense. And, you talked about Ho's submission game. He's a very good submission game. I definitely agree with you. He's got very underrated jiu-jitsu. I think he's very good there. So I think that the takedown defense is going to be necessary for Kavanaugh. It's going to need to be on point. I do think Kavanaugh's a little bit more proficient at this stage. Ho fights a little bit in my opinion, a little bit of a riskier style. He'll take risks to set up a big moment, but he can set up those big moments, man. And like you said, we've seen Kavanaugh get dropped. You talked about the fight against what's his name from
Sanchez.
Spain, Sanchez. Yeah, Andrew Sanchez, exactly. And I think there was one other fight, I can't remember who it was, where we saw him get dropped as well.
He definitely leaves those hands down and his head on the center line at times. For sure.
But I mean, he also is able to pull up some big pull counters in the stand up as well. I could see him landing some good pull counters in this one. I do think Kavanaugh, both of these guys will take risks. I think Kavanaugh's a little bit tighter. I do think Ho is a little bit more finish reliant than Kavanaugh is. And you see making the chat saying the decision for Kavanaugh is plus 100, boring. I agree. It is boring. I do think probably if I had to pick how this one plays out, probably Kavanaugh decision. I think Ho has some decent finishing upside here. It's just a difficult one to get a read on, man. It really is. Two really good prospects.
One thing I'll say, and this might not make much sense. Actually, go ahead. I'll finish your point.
I was just going to say, I'm picking Kavanaugh. I mean, I think you did a good job getting an early number on the Ho side. Obviously, you did a good job because, the line came in. At this price, I mean, I'm considering Kavanaugh. It's speaking to me. I don't know if I'm going to listen. So I don't have any action. I think it's a close fight. I am going to favor Kavanaugh here.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll say, I have cashed on Johan Lioness, Darius Flowers, a few other fighters where I do believe if their fights were in the UFC, like in an actual event, they might have went a different way than in the Contender Series. There's a lot of just weird, maybe fighters are getting more used to the Apex environment at this point, so maybe some of that variance is a little more off. But I still think, again, I think Ho. I really like Ho coming into this one. So we'll see. Plus 150, minus 180. Hopefully, I'm not going against Lucky on fight night. But next one, short notice one at 145, and honestly, it's not one I'm super interested in getting involved in on either side. I think we're both disappointed that Brito got cut or lost from this fight. I think Brito was the best of these three fighters. But Jose Miguel Delgado versus Ernie Juarez. Ernie Juarez definitely can come in here and get the upset. At the price it's at here, I have no interest in Delgado. I do think Delgado has the more skill. Like that fight with Chris McCate, that's one that you either get better or stop fighting from, I think, in my opinion. So I think Juarez doesn't quite bring that sort of fight anyways. I think he's more of pretty much a pure boxer in this spot. I like Delgado by submission, but at the same point, and Ho by submission at plus 900, sprinkle it. Delgado by submission for me. Just I don't like the short notice for Juarez, but he could come in here. He just hasn't blown me away.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you here. Delgado gets the short notice call. Won impressively on LFA about a month ago. Has won all of his fights impressively, honestly. Finished every single one that he's won. Obviously, the McCate one he lost. We've seen him do it early. We've seen him do it late. The Chris McCate fight. He's a good wrestler. Not an amazing prospect, but he is a solid fighter. I think he's like 8-2 now or something like that. Mm-hmm. Delgado is very big for the weight class. I think he's 5'11" at featherweight here. He's an MMA lab product. Has a very kind of flowy style of striking. Is a good wrestler as well. We've seen him get dropped before, but he is very dangerous in his own right. Juarez is an 8-0 guy out of Stockton. Been making his name on the A1 Combat promotion there. Seen him win in a variety of ways. He's a good grappler. He's a decent boxer as well. Delgado's size and the wrestling ability that he has in his own right, I think make this kind of a tough matchup for Juarez. But Juarez looked really good on the scales. He looked like he's in great shape. He's the one on the full camp. I'm just not very confident in this fight. I'm going to pick Delgado. I've felt kind of wishy-washy about him throughout his whole regional run, but he just keeps winning and keeps doing it impressively. So I'll go with him here, but you nailed it. I don't like the price tag.
Yeah, minus 285. I just don't get it. Plus 230. It's pass for me, but I get it. Anybody taking a shot on the dog. But plus 350 on the sub for Delgado, I don't hate, just because I do think that's path of least resistance here against Juarez, if he were to be smart, is to take it down. But a lot of times on the ground, he does go for the strikes and the ground and pound over the submission. But we shall see. This fight, the next two fights, I'm a little bit concerned about, especially if they get extended here. I'm not a big Bruno Lopez guy. I'm not going to lie. maybe it's losing to Brenson Ribeiro the way he lost to Brenson Ribeiro. Maybe it's just like in general, even on his LFA run, I wasn't like blown away or seeing this guy as the guy who's going to kind of come in here. Sazani, Miguel Sazani, I've liked what I've honestly saw, especially in his last couple fights. Like he, is able to hurt his opponents multiple times in the fight. He kind of has a striking, like high, kind of just walks down striking style to his game where I think if he can avoid the takedowns in this, the jiu-jitsu game of Lopez, I feel like on the feet, it's somewhat close here. Maybe I'm just overcorrecting on Lopez due to the Ribeiro fight. I get it. He looked very good in his last fight against a very hard hitter, but I think that if I were to take a shot, I'm not betting this fight, but I'll take another shot on the dog here, Miguel, and I hope it gets done somewhere inside 2 rounds, because otherwise I think this is going to be a really boring, bad decision with no contract. So, lucky.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to get your wish. I don't think this one is going to see round 3. Lopez is a 12-1 Brazilian whose only loss came on Contender Series last year against, like you said, Brendan Ribeiro, who not very good. And Lopez was a massive favorite in that fight. And the way he just kind of chills in the pocket is a little bit alarming. And I get what you mean about not being really that big on him. He seems a little bit slow sometimes. Seems like he's lacking a little bit of speed. And Stajniani could definitely smack him with an overhand at some point here. He does bring Lopez does bring a very solid skill set, though, with a solid resume outside of the loss on last year's show, especially on paper. I think it makes him look a little better than how he presents actually in the cage. And I don't think they're bringing him back for no reason. I think they like that, at a score, he's a guy that can go out there and finish a fight for you, or he can kind of just stand with his feet flat and get knocked out as well. Stajniani, I don't think has fought great guys. He's been finished in both of his losses. It does feel like he's in a bit of a KO or bust position here a little bit for me, but it's one where I do feel like he could get the KO for sure. He throws bombs. He has big power. And if nothing else, he's shown us that. Yes. And Lopez has shown us that he can be hit with that type of an attack. But I do kind of feel like Lopez, if it gets down, could probably rinse him on the mat. Yes. And I think he has a few more avenues by which he could proceed to win this fight. I'm going to pick Lopez, but he's just not a guy that I want to be involved with at a chalk number. So no action.
Yeah. This fight and the next fight, both are fights that for a little bit I was thinking about combining into a kind of a juice parlay for even money or so. And then I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm getting with these next 4 fighters, to be honest, with this fight. These two. With Lopez, I'm not sold at all, and I do think that the UFC kind of wants to know, is Lopez kind of a chintzy, Brazilian jobber, or we get another Georgian fighter? I don't think they're against whoever wins this fight if they win excitingly. So, and if they win by decision, they'll just throw them back into the Brave and LFA pool. So, yeah, I'm not too excited about this. Money's started to come in on Lopez again, a little bit of roller coaster action, minus 205 plus 170. Leaving it alone on my card. Second from the top, Ding Meng, Meng Ding, Ramy Hamed Ramy. This is going to be, I think, just a really good fight on the feet. I don't see either one of these guys saying, let's make this mixed martial arts. I think they're like, let's make this a K1 big kickboxing fight. Let's see who's tougher. Ramy has some dirty body shots that have shown up in multiple fights. And I really do like that out of him. While I do like that Ding Meng coming over to Irvine, California, training with Team Oyama. I think that's some really good pluses there. Fighting 40 times since 2017 when he went pro in MMA is just Chinese MMA for you. Yeah, I like Ding Meng in this spot, honestly. If one of these fighters is to make this more of an MMA fight, it's going to be the Ruthless Assassin, in my opinion. And I do think on the feet, he's got a good chance of finishing as well. Ramy at the same point, I like the body shots. I do like his stand-up, but I just think he's very one-dimensional, while I feel that the Chinese fighter has more avenues to win this fight. So I'll take Ding Meng by I'll say by submission. I think he's going to be very smart in this spot, but it would be his second submission, I believe, of his career. So would not bet it, and I'm just watching this one.
Yeah, Meng is, he's a good kickboxer. He's exciting. He has a ton of fights. Not really the highest level opponents, granted. That guy, Karabanjiang Tuosibake, I
Yes,
definitely butchered that. I
it's
mean,
okay.
I'm
That's
pretty
what
good with the names, but even for me, that one's pretty tough. He's gone with him 5 times. He's 2-3 in those 5 fights. I don't think it's a great look considering I don't think that guy's super good in my opinion. Most of the good guys that he's fought kind of dummied him on the first round. Most of his wins came against more low-level guys, although he did beat Michel Pereira back in the day. So, when you go through these records of these guys, in the East Asian regional scene, you're going to see some craziness, some
Mhm.
randomness in the results. And, Michel Pereira, win or not, though, I don't think the guy's super skilled, but, Meng is very active and he fights a ton. And I like that on his side. Hamed, conversely, has not been really super active in his career. He was supposed to be on the Contender Series last October, so he is a guy the UFC have had in mind before this week. Hamed is coming in here on short notice, quite short notice, really, training in South Florida. He's a good striker as well. All of his losses have come in the form of submissions, and he has some results that I feel a little bit underwhelmed by as well on Titan FC. He did win his last 2 fights on leg kicks. It's just like Meng, he does feel like he's going to be the more enthusiastic aggressor of these two fighters on Tuesday night, but it's just coming down to the line for me. It's hard for me to feel confident in him at this price tag. I'm gonna lean the dog, but it's like this is another one that I'm just not confident in either
It's
one of these
pass or
guys.
dog, is what you're saying. Not dog or
Yeah,
pass. Pass or
yeah,
dog.
we'll
Yeah.
go with that.
All right. Yeah, and that gets us a minus 190 on Dang, plus 160 on Ramy. And yeah, shout out to and Ding plus 115 by KO. That is just disgusting. Yeah, they are really limiting the amount of action here, but shout out to everybody in the building. Thank you guys. We are going to be doing our best to get Lucky and I to do these Contender Series breakdowns weekly, but at minimum, I'll be here to break them down. But let's move on to the main event where I'll just get right ahead of it. I have the plus 300 dog and Wes Schultz. A little bit of money has come in on him now as well. Got him yesterday at plus 300, plus 275 right now. Taking on to minus 350 Mansour Abdul Malik. I'm going to break some news to everybody. Mansour Abdul Malik hits hard. Really, really, really hard. Like this dude is a beast. He also squeezes hard. He's strong in general. He's not been tested at all. He's had one fight at middleweight. I think Wes Schultz is very, very slick, very tricky. I don't think he's going to just go in there and get wrecked in 2 minutes. If he does, okay, good job. Mansour is a beast, and that's a very good possibility with any Mansour fight moving forward. I get that. But I do have a lot of questions here behind a minus 350 Mansour Abdul Malik. I do think that Wes Schultz can kind of just use crafty grappling. I think he's got a much deeper gas tank if I'd have to guess. We haven't gotten to see Abdul extended in his amateur career or his pro career very long. So again, maybe I'm punishing him for success here, but I've always liked Wes Schultz, man, and I get it. He has a loss to Dylan Budka. Some people are going to really punish that as but at the time, especially, I wasn't holding it against him. I do think this line should be much, much closer. I just don't understand a minus 350 on Mansour. I definitely didn't understand the minus 400 on him when I bet against him. So we'll see. I got a plus 300 ticket. He should be able to cover it. But it's not about covering. I'd like to win. And I do think Schultz wins this fight. I think that he exhausts him and ends up submitting a dead body by round 2, maybe. Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's, especially seeing the face-offs today. I think there's a pretty big physicality and athleticism discrepancy in this fight, and I do think that Abdul Malik is the one with the advantage there. Obviously you pointed out he's explosive. He hits really hard. He was a Division I wrestler at a Big Ten program at Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Has not fought high level competition, but has handled all of his opponents with ease. I feel like there's something there with this guy. Just watching him, I feel like there's something here. You mentioned the Dylan Budka loss. Budka also a big physical guy, with good wrestling. I do think that Abdul Malik is more dangerous than Dylan Budka is, but as you also touched on, we've never seen him outside of, I don't even think we've seen him outside of 3 minutes, let
No.
alone one round. And it's a super hefty price to pay on a guy without really very much professional cage time at all. I mean, he's had what, 4 fights, but we really haven't seen him like in the cage for, we've seen him in there for what, like not even 2 rounds, maybe? I
Yeah.
don't know if you tallied up all the time. So it's really hard to get me to lay that price on a guy with this little experience. But I do kind of feel like Schultz is a little outmatched at his own game here. I mean, it's not breaking news. The guy's minus 400. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure I see, Schultz taking down Malik. And, we've seen him lose a wrestling heavy fight before. So for a pure pick, I got to go with Abdul Malik here, but it's just they put it at an unbettable price. So I'm
Yeah,
completely priced
they
out.
they might have trapped me into party time with Wes Schultz, but it's okay. I will live through it. Really quickly, just going through these fights. I'm on Antoan Ho while Kavanaugh is Lucky's side. We're both on Delgado. I'm on Sazani. You're on Lopez from the pure pick. I'm on Ding, and are you on Ding as well?
I'm on the other guy,
You're
actually.
on Ramy? Okay, you're on
Yeah,
Ramy. Then
Ahmed.
Wes Schultz and Malik. We are split on the main event. But yeah, that's going to do it for week 1 of the Dana White's Contender Series. Really quick 20-minute video, but all the information you need here. We want to thank Lucky for making the time tonight to jump on here. And we'll do our best to figure out for next week a good time, most likely Monday night again, because I will be in Detroit next weekend. So yeah, it'll be Monday night if I do it at all. So, Lucky, anything else you want to point out leading into the weekend before we talk about 305 on Wednesday?
Yeah, not really. Thanks for having me on. It was good to chop it up quickly. Felt like old times. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Wednesday night. We'll talk about 305 on the weekend and some other cards maybe as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it as always, Lucky. Thank you to the chat. Shout out to 2 cents in the chat, Stubborn Mick, 4-ounce Fight Club, or 4-ounce Sniper, I should say. Thank you all. And we'll see you on Wednesday night with the 305 breakdown best MMA panel. Peace.